Welcome back to class. Now we're moving on to Theme 4, which is Representative Democracy. Under Representative Democracy, I have the following topics: Characteristics of Democracy, Rule of Law, Maximum Liberty for Citizens, Rule of Majority with adequate safeguard to the minorities. Before we move ahead, what is democracy? Democracy is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. Another definition of democracy is, it is the government which is run by the selected representatives of the people for the economy, political, social, academic, and other spheres of life. That is, under democracy, representatives are chosen by the people to run the affairs of the state or the government. Then we move on to types of democracy. We have direct democracy and indirect democracy. Direct democracy. This type of democracy involves the citizens coming together or gathering at a point to elect their leaders or representatives. Indirect democracy. This is when citizens vote for the candidates of their choice to represent them at different levels of government, such as office of the president, governor, vice president, and so on. Characteristics of democracy. Under the characteristics of democracy, we have the election process. People form government through the election process. That is, under democracy, for anyone to be put in place or put in a political office, it has to be through election. Independence of the judiciary. The judiciary settles political and non-political disputes under democracy. Therefore, the judiciary needs to be neutral and independent from the control of the government. Political sovereignty. The will of the people is expressed by their votes and public opinions, and they have control over the government. That is, the people of the community have a say even in the governing of the affairs of their states by voicing out to the government and giving their own opinions on public issues and matters. Next, multi-party system. More than one political party is allowed to compete for power during election in a democratic society. That is, democratic system of government allows for many political parties to contest for power. Separation of power. The power of the state is not vested in one central organ. It is shared among the organs of government with checks and balances in place. That is, under democracy, there is separation of power in different offices. It is not just vested in one organ or in one person. And these organs check and make balances even on the other organs. Supremacy of the law. Under the democratic system of government, there is no one above the law. That is, the law supersedes over all the citizens and the government. The rule of law is absolute. Human rights. There is right to life, right to freedom of expression, freedom of speech, right to own your own property, right to associate with different associations, right to choose your own religion. Every individual in the society, in the democratic society, enjoys this basic or fundamental human rights. Then next, we go to rule of law and maximum liberty for citizens. The rule of law is a legal maxim which states that no person is immune to the law and no one can be punished by the government except for a breach of the law. This simply means that no matter the position an individual is, he or she is not greater or lower than the law. Anyone that goes against the law will be punished, and an innocent person cannot be punished unjustly. These are pictures depicting different people, some as regard the association, some regarding the religion, and some are actually exercising their voting rights. And this depicts the basic fundamental human rights that societal members enjoy. Maximum liberty for citizens. 1. Equal protection. The laws of the society should be binding on every member of the society. This implies that the law guiding the poor also guides the rich. And because some people are rich or in positions of power, doesn't mean they get more protection than the citizens. This simply dictates that the government is in charge of the security of every member of the society. Franchise. Every citizen at a certain age has the right to vote and be voted for. That is, when one has attained the legal age to vote in a society or be voted for, every citizen has that right to vote and also be voted for. And this right cannot be taken from such an individual except if that person did not qualify for the position or doesn't attain the certain criteria meant for that position. Freedom of speech. Every member of the society is entitled to his or her own opinion, ideas regarding public matters. That is, everybody is entitled to have his own opinion, point of view, mindset concerning public issues and matters. Fair legal process. Fair legal processes are used to resolve disputes concerning the rights of the citizens. That is, if a citizen is denied of his or her rights, then a fair legal process will take place to determine why was the citizen denied of this right. And if the citizen was denied of the right unjustly, then the fair legal process would look for a way to complement the citizen. Right to property. Every citizen has the right to own property or properties which cannot be taken except through fair legal process. That is, every individual in the society is entitled to his or her own property inasmuch as it is gotten through legal process, through legal means. Protection. All the members of the society are to be protected by the government. This simply implies that the security of the lives and properties of every member of the society is in the hands of the government. Rule of the majority. What is rule of the majority? Rule of the majority is defined as the rule that requires more than half of the community members who cast a vote to determine a decision for the entire society. That is, the majority of the society members decide who to put in power and what policy to put in place. They do this in respect of the society at large. Rule of the majority with adequate safeguard to the minority. The minority would be easily oppressed by the majority if the majority in a democratic system of government is the only expression of supreme power. Therefore, the majority rule cannot be the only expression of supreme power. Even though democracy must guarantee the expression of the popular will through majority rule, it is equally clear that it must guarantee that the majority will not abuse its power to violate the basic human rights of the minority. One of the characteristics of democracy is the people's right to change the majority rule through elections. This right is called the people's supreme authority. The minority must have the right to seek to become the majority and possess all the rights necessary to compete fairly in elections. If not, the majority will make itself a permanent rule and become a dictator. The majority rule in power must ensure the minority rights is exercised, since the majority presently will also use this right when they are in the minority state to gain power and become the majority again. This is mostly seen in a multi-party system in democracy, where no party has a majority. This simply means that the section that is in charge of the rule currently would be termed the majority rule, and the other section will be termed the minority. But the minority presently have the right to vote out the majority out of power. Therefore, the minority would now become the majority, and the majority would now become the present minority. This means the majority currently in power needs to provide the right avenue for the minority to exercise their rights, because the majority presently will also become a minority later on. Welcome back. Now we are going on to Team 5, which is Pillars of Democracy. And under this theme, I have the topic, the major pillars of democracy. Number 1, the Constitution. A constitution is a set of fundamental principles that guide or governs a state or an institution. That is, a set of rules and regulations that guides the governing of a state. The Constitution is applied in different levels of organizations within a state. It defines the principles upon which a state is based, the procedure in which